We all love a good ghost story, don't we? And none better than those ghosts that go around carrying their head underneath their arm. Beheaded ghosts, such as the Ghost of Anne Boleyn. Now, Jane and I had a nice day out at a beautiful castle called Hever Castle in Kent. It's not that far from London if you're visiting from America. And beautiful place, lovely grounds, wonderful magical castle that dates right back to the time of Henry VIII. And, of course, to the second wife of Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, who was beheaded in 1536. And this was the childhood home of Anne Boleyn and the place where she first met Henry VIII. You'll remember the story Anne of the Thousand Days with Richard Burton. You know, that wonderful movie that told the story of Anne Boleyn. And it was there that they met. I believe it was next to the old oak tree in Hever Castle. And at Hever Castle, there's supposed to be many ghosts haunting the place. And in particular, of course, the ghost of Anne Boleyn and her sister as well, Mary. And also Anna Cleves, I believe, lived there for a while as well. So this place is kind of steeped in history, you know. And nothing more mysterious, of course, than the ghost of someone who's had their head chopped off. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit in a moment about ghosts and what they are and why we see them, you know. Are they a real thing, or are they just part of a fevered imagination of people wandering around these spooky places such as Hever Hall? Or Hever Castle, rather, I need to call it. Now, Anne's ghost is actually supposed to appear there around the time of Christmas. Even though Henry VIII was married to Catherine of Aragon and had an affair with Anne Boleyn's sister, Mary, he still courted Anne Boleyn at this place. And her ghost is supposed to particularly haunt the bedroom. There's been a lot of sightings there. And attached to it, there is a little chamber, which is the area which she had as her own personal chapel. And in that personal chapel, which was restored later by the Astors that used to own the house, in that personal chapel, she is supposed to sometimes be seen. It's certainly a strange place. When Jane and I walked through, of course there's lots of tourists there, but at the same time you can still get a feeling of this eeriness of the place. The paintings in particular seem to echo the past. You can look at the faces, and the paintings are comparatively fresh, so you can almost feel as if some of them look like they painted only yesterday, and still see the faces of those people staring at us from the past. Jane and I are also very sensitive to these things because we have an ability of psychometry. That means we pick up the vibrations of objects. And in this place, we could feel the vibrations of the past. We could feel the energy of the people that once lived there. You can feel it because you can touch, you see. You can touch the walls, the banisters. There's a sense of being able to connect at this place. And I feel that Jane and I could feel a little bit about the ghosts of the past there. But this is the subject of my video today. The whole concept of what really is a ghost. I mean, Anne Boleyn is supposed to haunt other places as well. So is her ghost all over the place? Is it here where Jane and I were yesterday? Or is it also in these other places? Is her spirit wandering restlessly? So I want to sort of tell you what the general understanding by spirit mediums is about what ghosts are. Because there's a massive amount of misconceptions nowadays. In particular with programs such as Most Haunted, for example, which did a ghost hunt at Hever Hall for a while. And it looked a bit crazy, really. I mean, people jump at shadows at these ghost programs. So what is it that we really do encounter when we come across a ghost? I mentioned about psychometry, and this is the vibrations of the past. And some hauntings can be what we would call a residual haunting. That is, it's the actual energy in the environment itself that the medium or someone that might be slightly clairvoyant picks up on. So it's like they see a video recording of things from long ago. So these old buildings, they hold the memories of the past. And in 99% of cases, this is what I say a ghost really is people picking up on the things from before. Because no way is Anne Boleyn going to be continually walking over that bridge. No way is she going to be carrying her head at the Tower of London. You know, a spirit doesn't do that. They don't get trapped. Because that's what a lot of people think ghosts are. They're the trapped spirits. And actually, a spirit can't get trapped as such. Not in the way that the movies make out. They could be temporarily deluded into thinking they're not dead, but soon a spirit will understand its reality and move on to the higher planes of the spirit world. So these type of ghosts, what we would call residual hauntings, they don't actually interact with people. All you do is see it, like you might see a shadow walk across. I remember at Longleat House, I saw I did a ghosting there for the Daily Star newspaper once, and as we walked by, I actually saw a spirit walk across the hallway, and it shook me because it was so very clear. And I said to the guide that was taking me round to take me into the parts of the house that most people can't go, I said, God, my God, I've just seen a woman walk across that doorway there. And he said, oh, that's the ghost of the Grey Lady. She's supposed to be seen many times there. Now, that's without knowing there's a particular ghost in that spot. And for me, that was quite a shock because I saw it so clear with my eyes. As a medium, normally, we pick it up inside ourselves. So these objective ghosts, we see them outside of ourselves, these spirits sometimes, because we're projecting outwards. But inwardly is how we feel and sense ghosts and spirits. A medium tunes in through his brain, and from the brain we can sometimes see it as a projected image. That's called objective clairvoyance, when it's seen outside of yourself. But most of mediumship is subjective clairvoyance, which we feel it within our feelings and our thoughts. Now, ghosts are also sometimes seen as messengers that come from the spirit world. So these aren't necessarily ghosts, they are spirits. You see, I put a distinction between the two. Ghosts are this residual energy. Spirits are conscious beings, people like us that are living in their spirit body. So they are they are in the spirit world, so they are not restricted by the environment around us, so would not be trapped. Now there's another concept as well, which is that when a person dies, the spirit enters the spirit world, but also they leave behind the residual energy again that was left around the body. This would be called an astral shell. So this is like this that lives for a temporary time, temporary being the word, because there's no life force connected to it. And some people say that the astral shell sometimes wanders the spirit plane and will form like a ghost. It will be, again, a being that can't communicate with you. Although some say that astral shell can be taken over by another intruding spirit. But that's a whole new idea and a lot of fantasy, I think, with some of that, I have to say. So basically what we're talking about, there's two types of ghosts. There's ghosts and the spirits. Spirits are conscious people. My dad, he's passed into the spirit world. He's not a ghost, he's a spirit. Okay, so that's where we get a bit confused with the terminology. And the other one is poltergeist. This is the one that scares people the most. The idea that there's a rattling ghost, as it literally means. A poltergeist is like an energy. You see, someone spoke to me recently worried about their child that was having poltergeist activity around them. And I reassured them that it's not a ghost that's doing that. It's the child themselves. And usually, this was an adolescent child, and most poltergeist activity happens around adolescent children. So again, this is another form of what we would class as a ghost, and it would take a whole video to explain this and much more. But this is actually a form of psychokinesis, a form of energy being projected from usually an adolescent reaching puberty, or a young girl reaching menstrual cycle. There's a build-up of energy happening that has to find a way of expressing itself, and that expresses itself as a poltergeist. So we got ghosts, we got spirits, we got poltergeists. And then of course we have our own imaginations to blame as well, because a lot of people might have fantasies, and it's possible to have a projected fantasy. when people dream. For example, when a person has, just before the point where you're going to sleep, we have hypnagogic dreaming sometimes. And there's a lot of people that will wake up and actually see that dreaming continuing in the room, as it were, projected onto a wall. And so it's like dream is still happening while you're conscious and awake. So some ghosts might be a misinterpretation, a misunderstanding of this psychological condition. So in a nutshell, that's what ghosts are. They're either a residual type of energy, and recording in the atmosphere, as it were. They're a spirit, which is a real person from the spirit world. They're a poltergeist, which is an energy projected for us. Or they're possibly a projection from our own imaginations. So who was Anne Boleyn? I think what we're seeing there is probably in the first category. The idea that this is a recording from the past, a residual energy held within a building. Hope you enjoyed that. Jane and I now do our spiritual work for our foundation. All the profits that come from things like our conferences and theatres and workshops and all those exciting things now go into this foundation, which ultimately has the long-term plan of building centres in the UK and maybe around the world one day. But meanwhile, we've been doing a lot of direct spiritual work with it. We've been going out, feeding people in India, giving to the destitute, giving to beggars. We've helped feed schools, helped orphanages, and we've even given cows to older people that have no other form of income. So mediumship can change your life, but it can also help people directly in the world. So go to the links at the end and find out all about what Jane and I are trying to do. And you can do a lot just by sharing these videos on social media. Help us get the word out. Help us to do something really good in this world. Click on this picture of me to subscribe to our channel and see all of our latest videos as soon as they're published. Or click on this next video for more of our stuff.